Hi everyone and welcome to Smart Culture Education. This is the place where we make learning simple, clear and engaging. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe so you can join us on this journey of mastering maths, science and more. Okay, so let's have a look at the first question. The probability of picking a red sweet from a bag is 0.05. Find the probability of not picking a red sweet. Now remember, probability tells us how likely something is to happen. And all probabilities are between 0 and 1. So what we are going to do first, let me just make my screen a little bit bigger. We are going to write down the following. We know that the probability of picking a red sweet, I'm going to write R and it represents a red sweet, is equal to 0.05. How do we know this? It's given in the question. Okay, so the probability of not picking a red sweet, okay, so I'm going to write P brackets not red, is equal to 1 minus 0.05. And what is 1 minus 0.05? That is equal to 0.95. Okay, so the probability of not picking a red sweet is equal to 0.95. You can write it as a percentage most of the time as well, so that will be 95%. So that means there's a 95% chance that the sweet you pick will not be red. Okay, let's have a look at the next question. Mahika records how 120 students from year 1 and year 2 travel to school. Each student walks, cycles, or travels by bus. 48 students are in year 1, 77 students walk, 5 students in year 2 cycle, 36 students travel by bus, and 4/9 of the students who travel by bus are in year 1. Complete the table. Okay, so we know that we have 120 students in year 1 and 2. So we have 120 students in total, right? We know that the amount of year 1 students, and I'm just going to write this down, is 48. How do we know this? It's given. So that means the amount of year 2 students will be 120 minus 48, and that gives us 72, right? So we have 48 students in year 1 and 72 students in year 2. Now we know that 77 of these students walk. We know that 36 of these students travel by bus. We know that 5 students in year 2 cycle, and we know that 4/9 of the students who travel by bus are in year 1. Now we must complete the table and find the probability that a student does not travel by bus. Okay, so we already know that 77 students walk, so we can write it over here. And we know that 5 students in year 2 cycle, so we can write a 5 over there. I hope that everyone is following so far. And we know that there are 48 students in year 1 in total, and we know that there are 72 students in year 2 in total. Let's quickly see what other information we have. 36 students travel by bus, so this will be 36. All right, now we know that there are 77 students who walk. We know that there are 36 students who take the bus. Now we have a missing value over here, right? But we know that there are 120 students in total. So what we can do is we can work out the amount of students that actually cycle. So we can say 120, I'm just going to write this in black, 120 minus 77 minus 36 gives us what? If you punch this into your calculator, you will get 7. 5 of the 7 students are in year 1. So that means that 2 of the students who cycle will be in year 1, since 2 plus 5 is equal to 7. Okay, now they also tell us that 4/9 of the students who travel by bus are in year 1. So now we have to do a multiplication sum. So now we say 4/9 times how many students take the bus? 36 is equal to what? What is 4 over 9 times 36? 4 times 36 is equal to 144, and we have to divide that by 9. What is 144 divided by 9? That is equal to 16. So we know that 16 year 1 students takes the bus. Now, 36 minus 16 is equal to 20. So that means 20 year 2 students take the bus. Now, we have 48 year 1 students in total. 2 of them cycle, 16 take the bus. So how many of them walk? Now, this is just a normal subtraction sum. Okay, let's try this. 48 minus 16 minus 2 gives us what? You can punch this into your calculator. If you punch this into your calculator, what do you get? You get 30. So that means 30 of the year 1 students walk to school. Let's do the same with the year 2 students. 72 minus 20 minus 5 is equal to what? Let's quickly punch this into our calculators. We get 47. Okay, and you can verify your answers. They have to make sense vertically as well. 30 plus 47 gives us 77. So we know that that's correct. And that is how we fill in the table. Okay, let's move on to our second question. This is part B. One of the 120 students is chosen at random. Work out the probability that this student does not travel by bus to school. Okay, I'm going to read the question one more time. One of the 120 students is chosen at random. Work out the probability that this student does not travel by bus to school. Okay, now let's start with this question. So the probability of the student not taking the bus is equal to 1 minus the probability that the student is taking the bus. Okay, now we can go back to our table and we can check what is the probability of the student actually taking the bus. So let's go back. Okay, we can see that there are 36 students taking the bus. So 36 out of 120 students actually take the bus, right? Okay, so it's going to be 1 minus 36 over 120. And if you punch this into your calculator, you will get 84 over 120, which we can simplify. We can simplify it. 84 divided by 12 is equal to 7. 120 divided by 12 is equal to 10. So the simplified answer will then be 7 over 10. You can write it as a fraction. You can write it as a decimal as well. Okay, so it's 7 over 10 or 0.7. The favorite sport of each of 135 boys is recorded in the table. Complete the table. How can we go about answering this question? Okay, so this is the formula that we use. Okay, so the angle is actually equal to the frequency divided by the total multiplied by 360 degrees. For example, let's test this first one. 54 divided by 135. How do we know the total is 135? It's given to us in the question. Times 360 degrees. That gives us, let's just double check, 54 over 135 multiplied by 360 degrees gives us 144. Okay, so what we are going to do is we are going to do the same for hockey, rugby, and the other sports. So what we are going to do is we are going to use the same formula. So it's going to be the frequency, which for hockey is 45. And then we divide it by the total, which is 135. Okay, and then we multiply that by 360 degrees. If you punch this into your calculator, you will get an answer of 120 degrees. Okay, let's try rugby. So the frequency in this case is 27. The total again will be 135, and we multiply this by 360 degrees. Okay, and if you punch this into your calculator, you will get an answer of 72 degrees. Let's do the last one. So here we have other. So the frequency in this case is 9. And the total is still 135. And you have to multiply this by 360 degrees. If you punch this into your calculator, you will get an answer of 24 degrees. Now, you can actually test your answer. You can actually make sure that you have all the correct answers. So you can add up all of these amounts and they have to add up to 360 degrees. So let's try this. 144 degrees plus 120 degrees plus 72 degrees plus 24 degrees. Let's add all of this together and then we see what we get. 144 plus 120 plus 72 plus 24, that gives us 360 degrees. So we know that our answers are all correct.
Thank you for watching today's video on Smart Culture Education. If you found it helpful, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to stay updated, tap the notification bell so you never miss our next lesson. See you in the next video.